So on a recent shift driving for DoorDash, I had two of the most common problems and delays when delivering. Well, in this video, I'm going to go over both delays, so you'll know what to look for if you encounter this while dashing. You can resolve it so you can get back to making money. Now, speaking of problems, one problem may be not being prepared when you're on the road. You can do that by checking out my Amazon storefront. It has the very best accessories, no matter what niche you're in this gig economy. That's linked down below in the description. And we also just went live with our new Discord community. That's linked down below as well. I'd love to see you there. So here's the first order, Hong Kong restaurant, $10 for 3.3 miles. So quickly, why did I accept this order? When you get an order request on DoorDash, you do want to look at that dollars to mile ratio. How many dollars are you going to get paid for the miles driven? So for this order, it's paying out $10 and you're driving 3.3 miles. That's a strong dollars to mile ratio of $3.03 per mile. Now, what you also want to do before accepting this first order is remember, you're going to be in the current marketplace, right? Either through the Dash Now feature or the scheduling feature. So what I recommend, as soon as you're in that marketplace, park and wait. Either park strategically based on places that you know typically get orders, or you can park in your hotspot. Now, unfortunately, problem number one here came from this first order. So one of the biggest problems you're going to encounter when you're on the road delivering, that's restaurant delays. So what constitutes maybe an average delay versus one that causes more concern? I would say about 5 minutes. That's a good barometer. If a delay, if you have to wait longer than 5 minutes, that's where it starts really eating into your shift. Now, of course, the delays can happen if the restaurant just got the order, or they put it in late, or of course, it's just not quite ready. Now, this order number one, it took longer than 5 minutes. I'm talking about maybe 10 minutes, probably 15 minutes, or maybe even closer to 20 minutes. So you have two options here when you have a wait at a restaurant. You can either, of course, wait and complete the pickup, or you can cancel the order. So number one, if you wait, again, you're guaranteed the earnings because you've accepted the order. You've made that commitment to this order. You've committed to the customer. DoorDash has you assigned to this order. I would cap that out around 15 minutes. If you anticipate it's going to be about 15 minutes or less, I would wait, and here's why. Because let's roll into option number two, that's canceling. If you cancel that order, number one, it's going to hit your cancellation rate. If the cancellation rate gets too high, that can be a reason to deactivate you from the DoorDash platform. Now, that is very rare. That's going to be exceptionally rare in my opinion. And in actuality, your completion rate, the amount of orders you complete versus the last 100 that have been assigned to you, it needs to be 80% or higher. What you're going to find when you're on the road is it's actually going to be closer to 95 to 99%, because frankly, you're not going to cancel most any order after you've accepted it. Now, another reason that I think it may not be a good idea to cancel really a lot of orders if there's a wait is you're not guaranteed another order. Now, this shift, we were actually on a per delivery bonus, which should indicate that it is busier during that market time. But there is no guarantee that you're going to get another order. Maybe there's a lot of drivers out, or maybe demand has been dwindling since you went online. So you may find that you'll be canceling this order just to wait basically just as long for your next order. So delivery complete on that one. Let's look at this unique request. It's actually a stacked order. And if you're not familiar with what a stacked order is, that's two orders for two different customers, but on the same assignment. That is the assignment to you as a driver. So you're handling two different orders, typically from either the same restaurant, or in this case, restaurants that are pretty close by to each other. But this is a unique request because my screen for a stacked order is not going to typically look like this. What you'll typically see is something like this. You get your first order request, you go over all the numbers, you say, hey, this works for me, and you accept it. And then later, usually before you make that first pickup, you'll see this screen for a potential second order. But that's not the case here. DoorDash just basically threw at me two orders on one request screen. So let me know down below in the comments if you see stacked order requests that come through that look like this. Now there's one important thing that distinguishes this screen, and that's this. That's the counter, the time that DoorDash gives you to accept this request. Because typically DoorDash is going to give you about 45 seconds to accept this order. But look here, the current timer, and some times already ran off, the current timer says 65 seconds. So what is nice about this is DoorDash has given you plenty of time to make the decision on these orders. And what I want you to look at is number one, of course, the dollars. What is it paying out? Number two, the miles. How far do I have to drive? And of course, you can also, number three, look at the restaurants. Look at where they're being picked up from, just the location. And number four, this is something that really only DoorDash does in general, is look at the amount of items you're going to be picking up. Because we can see here there's 21 items between these two orders. That's a little bit higher, but what I've noticed is even small items like condiments and utensils can be included in here. So while it may say 21, you may come to realize like 10 of those are just hot sauce. So here's another problem. I have the building number for the apartment, but not the unit number. It's more and more problems today, right? So call the customer, no response. Texted the customer, waiting on a response now. So for this drop off, I'm given the delivery information, right? You're given the address and all of that important information to make the delivery. So number one, fantastic. I'm giving the building number. And just a pro tip for you, the delivery icon, the actual arrow that indicates where you should deliver, is typically on the exact building, even within an apartment complex that you need to deliver to. Now, I found that building, no problem, but where do I deliver it to? The delivery instructions gave no indication of an exact room number or apartment number. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to mark that you're unable to make the handoff, and you're going to follow these steps from DoorDash. So step number one, of course, it's call the customer to try to confirm where you should make the handoff. Now you actually have to go through these specific steps. I called the customer twice before this, but this option was still locked. I had to call the customer through this specific step to advance. Now after that, if you still can't reach the customer, there's a countdown where you have to wait. It's kind of a pain, but this is mandatory. You have to wait until this timer runs out, then you can make the drop off. So we're waiting, and the timer has finally expired. So where do you make that drop off? Well, you make it in the best place that you can. I basically left it at the front entrance, just a main area of the complex. And don't worry about it. At that point, it's on the customer. You've called several times. You've texted the customer. You would assume that they're waiting for their food because they placed the order, and they should know that you're there as well because they have tracking in the app. And a good practice, DoorDash does require that you take a picture and add notes when dropping it off in a general area. So I did that, as you can see here, and it may be good practice as well to either screen record this process or take screenshots through this process. Because you never know, if the customer reaches out to support and they say, hey, this driver never delivered, maybe someone else grabbed their food because it was just left out in the open, then you have proof that you actually did do that delivery. And then after you go through these steps, you will get your full payment. Now, this order really highlights the importance of positioning, because the marketplace that I'm driving in for this shift is Mission Valley here in San Diego, California. And you can see where I'm located. That's the blue dot. Now, here's the strategy. This is what I want you to do, is finding the most dense areas in your marketplace. Now, DoorDash gives you some clues, those hotspots, areas that generally get orders, but there's more to it. Different hotspots, and then subsequently different areas of the marketplace, in my opinion, get more orders than others. And there also may be areas that have orders with less miles. Because we can see here, this order request, it's picking up near a large kind of mall area, somewhere with a lot of restaurants. And you can see where I'm delivering to, there's a ton of apartments, homes, condos that are really jammed packed tightly in this area. Versus, let's say, more rural areas of the marketplace that would require more driving. Now, maybe the best example of a strong dollars to mile ratio is this order from Kalima's Mexican Food. Now, it's $8, which is pretty good, but the miles, it's next to nothing. It's 0.7 miles. So a short shift, but one not without problems. But let's go over the actual numbers. So as I mentioned, the number one thing that really ate into the deliveries completed and the revenue today were the problems. But that's part of the game. Let's go over some of the numbers. The shift tonight was from 5:45 p.m. until 8:15 p.m. The gross revenue could have been higher, $57.75. Or the gross revenue per hour for this 2.5-hour shift, $23.10. During this time, I completed 5 deliveries, received 4 tips, and actually received a big $17 tip, which increased the overall tip average to $7.25. Business miles driving today were 20, with a deduction of $11.50 for taxes. So stepping outside of the total revenue here, because not every shift is going to be 20, 30 plus an hour in gross revenue, this was a good shift just to step back and kind of get hit with problems I haven't seen in a while. And my goal for you is to know how to resolve these problems when you're on the road. It could be red card problems, like I mentioned, linked up above, or it could just be problems like this with time delays. So if you got value from this video, definitely leave a like and check out that link down below in the description for my Amazon storefront. Make sure to click or tap the screen now for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you, and I'll see you in the next one.